Welcome to another episode of the Gamer's Time Capsule. I'm your host, Jay Rock. We are powered by ObsoleteGamer.com, and you can find us everywhere: iTunes, Spotify, Google, pretty much everywhere podcasts are found. Now, this has been a great adventure for me because I've been able to not only reach out to people and hear awesome news stories related to gaming, but also going back through the archives of the Obsolete Gamer Show podcast and finding stories that were just awesome. And the Obsolete Gamer Show ran for like several years, and sometimes a longer format interview is not something that everyone likes. So sometimes great stories get lost just because an episode might run an hour long, and I was so thankful to these people to have these awesome interviews go that long. But today we have, I would say, a collection of a few stories from some of the celebrity gamers that came on our show and shared stories. And the first one I wanted to share is from Ryan Culver. And the reason why is because after the Uncharted movie came out, there are a lot of people that were disappointed with the direction and all types of things like that. But a lot of people don't realize that years ago, I think like 2014-15, PlayStation had a commercial for their Battle Royale, All-Star Battle Royale game. And in it, they showed, Nathan Drake. But these were real live people playing the characters. And the actor who played Nathan Drake in that was Ryan Culver. And I just thought it was so cool because, I thought he really looked the part. So, if you have a chance to go check that out, we have it on the Obsolete Gamer Show website. But you can look it up on YouTube and see the commercial, and he really fits the part, so I want to talk to him. And when I did get a chance to talk to him, I found out, not only is this guy an awesome actor, but an awesome adventurer. And hearing his stories about things he's done, jumping out of planes, visiting exotic places. This guy was the real Nathan Drake. And we know how Hollywood is, but I really wish that this guy would have had a shot at it. No disrespect to Tom Holland. He's awesome too, but I really think that this guy would have had a really good shot, and maybe, considering his background with all his adventures and stories, maybe it would have tuned the movie itself a little bit more towards that. But anyway, the whole point is that I had a story that he told us, and it was awesome. It was basically a real life adventure. Imagine being in the middle of nowhere and you're finding this cave and you don't know what's inside, and you find an old rickety ladder, and then the history and the weight and the gravity of what you actually discovered. That's basically the story. But instead of me trying to tell it, because I can't, I'll let the man himself tell it.
I count my lucky stars. I'm thankful every time I get to head out and go have another adventure like that, because I really don't take it for granted. I really appreciate those times, and I do. That's why I have those times where I can stand, and whether it's standing up north staring at the northern lights, the aurora borealis up north, and watching those things play all over the sky. In fact, I spent some time in Saipan in the Mariana Islands on this last trip, and there's a cave, a well-known cave on the island. That Saipan was well known during World War II, especially for a lot of the really horrific battles that took place there between the U.S. and Japanese and Korean forces that were battling for control of that island during the war. So of course, when you go there and you stand in the middle of the jungle, you can still feel the weight of that. You can who died in that place. It's a really weird energy that you feel when you walk there, and I imagine it's like that for a lot of people who travel to these places around the world. But I remember there's a cave there, and the cave was actually closed. It was a while back. It was open to the general public. You can kind of walk into the edge of the cave and get in there and look around a little bit. It was closed, so they weren't really allowing anybody in there. So of course, I get back into the jungle, and I kind of sneak around the side, and I find my way into the cave on my own. But I get down into the cave, and there's an old rickety ladder I think the people that were in the cave before had built and set down in, so you could get down into the main area of the cave and then climb down and get into this cave. And there were no lights in there. I mean, you weren't supposed to have anybody in there. So I actually ran back out to the car that I had with me, grabbed my headlamp, and ran back into the cave. And then I climbed down that ladder into the pitch black. I didn't even know it was down there. So I climbed down and I get down to the floor of this thing, and I'm standing down there, and it's pitch black down there, and there's a tiny little ray of light coming in from the opening up above, and it's dead quiet. You know, there's nobody around, and I stood in there knowing that a lot of especially at the end of that war, a lot of the Japanese soldiers that were on the island that was being overrun by a lot of the Allied forces were hiding in this cave, basically waiting to die. They were kind of trapped. They were hiding in fear of their lives, and they had gone down into this cave. So, you know, I see, you know, you go up and you see these huge, majestic things like the Northern Lights up near Greenland, and they're very awe-inspiring. But at the same time, I have these experiences like this, standing in this cave, feeling the weight of all of these people that were in there before. And it's amazing, and it's got its own beauty, but it also helps, I think, instill you with this sense of wonder in a different way, where you realize how amazing this planet is, and how much there is to go explore when you get out and go do these things. And to try to take everything in. It isn't just about looking at the pretty painting, the pretty picture, the ideal thing that you see on a postcard. It's getting into the real humanity of it, the realness of where you travel, where you explore, and realizing that there's beauty in all of it. There's amazingness in all of it, and that's one of the reasons why I keep going out and exploring. Because every time I go out, even if I plan a trip, I plan a destination, I plan on what I'm going to do, I always end up finding something that comes along spontaneously that throws me for a loop. And my journals that I've journaled with for years as I travel, all of the best, most memorable experiences I have were all things that I did that I didn't expect to do. They were all spontaneous experiences. So part of that is just get out. Just get out and go do something different. You know what I mean? I mean, even if you live in a city, go up to a different part of the city that you don't normally go to, and just see what's going on over there.
Our next story comes from Nick Clarkson. And at the time when we interviewed him for the Obsolete Gamer Show, he was working for Merge Games, and he was telling us a story about looking for celebrity endorsements for their upcoming Rocky video game, their boxing game. And of course, we know that, you know, since then, because this was like back in the day, like 2014. So since then, you know, we've had Creed come out and things like that. But before that, it was a little bit harder to get an endorsement for a boxing game, according to his story. And he ended up meeting Mr. T. And I mean, I have read that Mr. T is awesome and really nice, but this story really cements like how cool he was compared to some of the other Rocky actors and what they required. But enough of me talking. Let's hear the story.
I remember then joining Rage Games of Liverpool, and Rage were doing, we did a Rocky boxing game. That's a hard sell, you know. So here's a game, you go down to see the journalists and you say, I've got a boxing game. Never a great start, but traditionally not great. And so people glaze over and sort of, yeah, okay, tell us more about it. Oh, it's based on a movie. So, oh, yeah, okay, what movie is it? It's based on a movie that's kind of 15 years old. By this time, I feel like I'm losing it. And tell them it's Rocky, you know, yeah, Rocky, okay. And then we play it, and it was amazing. They wouldn't let me leave the office because I had the disc with me, and I can't leave you the disc. But so I think I stayed there well into the night, and they just wanted to fight each other with these classic Rocky characters. And it was a great game. I really loved Rocky. Again, we came out to E3 with that. We were looking for celebrity endorsement at the time, and we spoke to Apollo Creed. Is that Carl Weaver?
Carl Weathers, yes.
Carl Weathers, okay. We spoke to him, and he wanted serious cash to come and be on a booth at E3. out of our price league. Serious cash he wanted. Stallone we'd actually had on a French TV show, and he'd been pictured with the box, but he was doing stuff and wasn't available. So we were looking for people to do, and someone had the bright idea of, what about Mr. T? Brilliant, Clubber Lang, let's get him in. And you know what? He did it, and he did it for no money at all. All he wanted was he wanted to bring some terminally ill kids that had cancer into the show. We got them passes into the show. We took them round, showed them all these great games. They had a fantastic day. We bought them video game systems and a whole load of games, and then made a donation to his cancer charity. And he was an awesome guy. Absolutely awesome. We had a panic actually on the day because we arranged to send a car to pick him up, and the message came back from the driver of the car that he wasn't home. He wasn't there. And so we were panicking because we'd already said, we put out a press notice, come and see Mr. T and everything. Right. And he turned up. Excuse me one second. He turned up. He walked through all of the crowd with this big overcoat and a hat on. Nobody recognized who he was until he got on the stand, just took it all off, and there he was, big guy, all the jewelry, everything, signing everything. And he didn't leave his post. We weren't supposed to be there for 2 or 3 hours. He didn't leave his post until everybody had a picture and everybody had an autograph and everybody was happy. He was a legend, and he was amazing. And the stories he told us back in sort of behind the scenes, he was showing us some of the scars he'd got from the treatment that he had. What a guy. What an absolute gentleman he was. I was really pleased with him.
All right, we've saved the craziest for last because this one isn't technically about gaming, it's about wrestling, but Mike NESquester Wright. Now, if you guys don't know that name, awesome retro gamer, awesome writer of retro gaming stories, reviews, things like that. But what I didn't even know when I reached out to him to talk about retro gaming was that he wrestled under the name Enigma. And once I found that out, I am a huge fan of WWE, WCW, ECW, so I was like, you gotta tell me some stories. And I was prepared for it. I was prepared for how crazy it was going to be because I've already seen some interviews, read some stuff about how crazy it could be. But this was really cool because, I mean, he met people like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, Mick Foley, and, just the experiences of being with a bunch of crazy wrestlers and crazy things that they did. I just had to know. And there was some funny stuff, and I hope that Mike is okay because I know that at first he was like a little unsure if he wanted to go that deep, but it's like, look, these stories are great. Now, obviously, this is like not safe for work stuff that gets said here, It's nothing, honestly, it's nothing crazy, but obviously, think about it. It's a bunch of wrestlers doing crazy shit, so just prepare for that. But it's a great story, and let's have him tell it.
I don't know. Oh, every one of them is probably the crudest thing you'll hear today.
Hey, so that's fine.
I need to come up with one that's perhaps PG, more PG.
No, we're above PG. You can let it fly.
All right, fine. Well, there was this one time. I can't remember where. Longview, I want to believe. Anyway, wrestlers had groupies, right? Why am I going to tell this fucking story? This will open me up. All right. Wrestlers have groupies, and groupies get bored, and wrestlers get bored, I suppose. Me, personally, I was already married, so I was the guy that, at the time, had the PS1 and the N64 in his case. I just wanted to play games in my hotel room and be left the fuck alone. And I was there to make money, not spend money, and these guys were nuts. So anyway, they had a groupie in the... fuck. They had a groupie in the room. And I get a phone call down to my room. Hey, Enigma, because that's what even though we knew each other's real names, we never called we call each other the same shit. Y'all, the fans call us and whatnot. Enigma, get your ass up here. You've never seen anything like this in your life. All right. That sounds, I'm 140 miles away from home. I'll take it. So I go up to the room, and what they had done is they went to... Have you ever seen the wrestling helmets, like the amateur wrestling helmets that goes over your head?
Oh yeah,
And it has the strap on the top. Yeah, they had already had one of those because one of them was an amateur wrestler, and they had gone to a sex shop and they had gotten a rather large prosthetic of the male member, and they went to Walmart or somewhere and got a slip and slide. And what they were doing, they put fuck it, the dildo on top of the helmet, right? And they were basically bowling each other down this slip and slide to a groupie whose legs were open at the end of the slip and slide and called it the Rhino.
Holy cow.
Happy 420, everybody. Fuck, my box is going to explode now. But yeah, that's the Rhino. That's one story. I could tell you about the times, I caught people drunk pissing into the ice machines at hotels, which is why I would never.
Again. That's it. I'm not going to use the hotel ice receipt.
I refuse to, man. I take my own ice everywhere I go. Like, you just never know.
What was it like when you met, like you were saying, like Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero? What was it like meeting people like that? At the time, were they people that you looked at as like heroes and mentors, or was just like, oh, this is another colleague?
Some of them, oh yeah, like Terry Funk, Mick Foley, I held in the highest esteem. Samoa Joe, I mean, I would hold them in the high esteem unless they started becoming a shithead, like Buff Bagwell. That dude there, something was wrong with him. But yeah, it's a mutual respect society, and if there's somebody like an Eddie Guerrero or Rey Mysterio, somebody that's, I mean, no question, they're levels above what the rest of us in the locker room were. Yeah, you definitely show respect, and they were really, really cool. Conan, if you remember him, that was a fun story. He wouldn't mind me telling this either. I got Conan weed once while he was down here. Got to smoke with him once. That was really fun because the dude kept forgetting that I didn't speak Spanish like the whole fucking time he was backstage. Disco Inferno, I felt really bad for. You remember Disco Inferno from WCW?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He was doing a show down at the horse track down here, and I was on the same card, and he was pumped to be there, and Terry Funk was also there, and Vampiro. Funk and Vampiro, they had just a smorgasbord of fucking people ready to meet them. Poor Disco was at the table with like one 50-year-old lady hanging on him, and that was fucking it. So I always felt kind of bad for him because he was showing up ready to be a superstar, and everybody just kind of shit on him. Okay, it was funny. Let's just say it. That shit was funny.
Did you ever have people like the veterans treat you bad? Because I remember reading some stuff, mainly in WCW, WWE, where someone would be kind of new, like a rookie, and then you'd have some veterans that would treat them like shit, and then other ones that were cool.
Oh yeah, that's shit. You can get that in any workplace though. But yeah, we definitely had the older guys that wouldn't respect you until most of the time it took somebody trying you in the ring and you slapping the shit out of them back. It was back then. It's totally different than now. Everything, if somebody gets slapped hard now, all of a sudden they're on Twitter talking about bullying or whatnot. But it was more of tough love back then. You weren't gonna make it on the road like it was back then unless you had tougher skin. So I can see where some of them came from. Some of them were just dicks just to be dicks. But those guys, you see the same people coming up as you do on the way down. And you get to see them later on in their more humbling days when they realize what a shitbag they've been and why you won't go get them a beer and tell them to go fuck themselves.
So there you have it. 3 awesome stories. 3 celebrity gamers. Started off nice and calm, ended up nice and crazy. Just how we like it here on the Gamers Time Capsule. Now, here's the important part. We want to hear from you because I believe that all stories can be good. Some people say it's subjective, but I want to hear your stories. Doesn't matter if you're a celebrity gamer or just a regular Joe. I'm sure you have at least 1 or 2 or more awesome stories about gaming. Maybe you met somebody like your partner, maybe you own somebody, maybe you beat a game, maybe you did a marathon, something like that. So we want to hear from you. So reach out to us. You can reach me at JALARAQUE on Twitter and Instagram. Let us know. Of course, we'll have to hear the story. Then you could come on and tell the story, And if you rather record it and send it to us, give us permission. We'll listen to it, and as long as it's not too crazy, and if you listen to that last story, you realize we accept pretty crazy, you'll get in. So don't worry about it. But the point is, we want to collect these stories because our motto is, a great story never dies. And that's what we really believe. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back really soon with some more awesome stories.